Hello, I'm Zachary Cava. I work at the Walt Disney Company. Particularly, I work on the media platform within the company. And this is something that's evolved a lot over the last few years. But with that evolution, I've actually started leading a team of architects, which are all here today. So you can find them throughout the room. If you really want to figure out everything about Disney, you can corner them. But we work on making the media platform function. And over the years, this has evolved. So when I say the media platform, what I'm really talking about is this fun box, which I'm not going to give you any other detail into except for this nice logo. And it goes and takes content from your movies, your TV shows, and also your general data feeds in order to bring and build a strong aggregate catalog. Like this, a big catalog to power some of the biggest services, Disney Plus and Hulu. But we've talked about a little bit of that before. And over the last 2-3 years, we've expanded beyond these. Like we've actually started onboarding every other service within the Disney company into this single platform. And that is super interesting, super fun. But to give you kind of like a magnitude of scale for that, when we talk about bringing in data, we're talking about over 500 different partners to bring us movies, TV shows, data feeds, all the fun things that make the experience go. When we talk about on-demand assets, that's around 240,000 long-form assets a year. These are premium assets, right? So it's not YouTube uploads, but it's high-quality 4K, great mezzanines. And that's per year. So that's about, if you want to equate it, about half of our catalog rotating on a yearly basis. Very fun, very cool. With that, though, we actually support the ad insertion as well. So we take all ads on platform before serve in order to ensure consistency and quality. And that gives us about 20,000 ads per week that we have to ingest, transcode, and send out there. But it's not just an on-demand platform. We happen to have a little thing called ESPN and a little thing called Hulu Live TV. So there's a lot of live in there. We have over 2,000 24/7 live linear channels that are running. A lot of these are actually DAI enabled with kind of one-to-one ad insertion. We've talked about that in the past. And we run over 50,000 live events a year. And this is not just domestically, this is globally. It's within every region, every region around the globe. And so we have to take all that content and get it across to these different services. At its face, it's kind of easy, right? Like you've just kind of got these big boxes and they get to have the content. But how you get the content, what they're doing with the content, and who's accessing it is slightly different, right? So like we think about ABC. ABC is a national brand in the US, and we're really distributing things for free there. You can go to abc.com or abcnews.com and watch the latest news, watch a live stream. That's great. Disney Plus, kind of the polar opposite. It's a global brand, right? It's in every region, has highly regionalized catalogs. It's got a lot of localization there. And you're using a direct-to-consumer subscription. But then you can take a little bit of a different twist too. Hulu, again, is national. It's within the US brand, but it's not just one subscription. There's an on-demand brand that you can get an SVOD catalog for. There's a live TV brand that you can bring all the best in live TV as a replacement to cable. And if you really want to pay us a lot more money, you can also do premium add-ons and get everything from Max to Showtime to Cinemax, and I'm sure I forget some stars. There we go. And that's all within that app. But we're not done. We also have ESPN. ESPN is a globally distributed brand as well. Sometimes it's in its own app, sometimes it's in a different app, but it's globally distributed. This has a DTC subscription. It's called ESPN Plus. It's in the news. ESPN DTC is launching soon. I hope you all are excited for that. But there's other ways to access there. There's also free-to-play streams. You can go to ESPN, watch clips, watch some events, all for free. But you can even go further, and you can, if you pay for cable, you can probably log into ESPN and get those feeds there too. Right? So there's all these different access and ways to get this content. So you could do all this by duplicating everything. But if we duplicated everything, that'd be crazy. And, well, crazy for a few different angles, but on top of that, our businesses want to understand how to bring the content to where the users are, rather than forcing them to move around, right? And so, to give you some examples, you can watch ABC News in the ABC News app, or on cable or any other great places, or you can watch it on Disney Plus or Hulu, because it's all there. You can watch ESPN on the ESPN app, or you can watch it on Disney Plus or Hulu. You can watch Hulu within the Hulu app, or you can watch it on Disney Plus, right? This content is being pushed anywhere and everywhere in order to power these, to enable these experiences, but also give the users choice of where they want to access and make sure that they're getting the value of their subscription. This is great. And you can support this, again, by duplicating everything, triplicating everything, quadruplicating everything, and then somebody will call you and say, why is your bill so high? It just doesn't work. And this is where we come to the root of the conversation and thought of like content fluidity. What does it mean to take this content and move it across applications, right? Conform it to the presentations, the rights, and the requirements that are in the different apps, but allow the content to be there and be consumed. And so when we think about this, why are we doing this? Well, we kind of have three motivators for this. The first is our operations team. Now, Mayor gave a great example. There's a big event, you're running it, you've got an operations team. If I'm doing this in 3 apps, I don't want 3 operations teams doing this, right? That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work on the acquisition, it's a lot of work on the encoding, it's a lot of work on the distribution. And I can tell you from experience, if you have multiple people operating the same event, something will go wrong. And so we really want to focus on removing that duplication of operational support. Singularize the programming so you can get it right once. And achieve the SLAs that you need to achieve. If I have a quick turn episode that's coming over, from late night TV, has to be on the servers in 30 minutes. If I have to have it on 3 services in 30 minutes, that's a hard thing to hit. But if I can do it once, that's great. So operational is very, very important for us. The other one is cost. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Cost is definitely there. None of this is free. And some of the things that we kind of marginalize is like, oh, it's really easy to get a title again. Well, transmitting a 400 terabyte mezzanine again and again and again because I have to re-encode it, it's not cheap. So we want to minimize that. We want to really pay attention to what we're doing. And then when you think about live, 24/7 live stream, I can't spin up and spin down instances to make that work. It's running. It's in the name. It's 24/7. So we don't want to over-provision, double provision, triple provision our physical hardware in order to make that happen. And to give you a little sense of that, we do a lot of our transcoding within actual DCs that we own and operate. And so that's for live, that's for VOD as well. But finally, users. There's actually a better user experience when we think about content fluidity. If I have to put an event into 3 separate apps, cool, but that means those apps are now hostile to each other in the distribution space, right? I've got 3 separate encodes. You've got users on different applications, and they're all competing for the different pops that they're going through. Not a great thing to have at scale. And so you can actually drive a better user experience, better quality for them. And as I've mentioned before, it's ease of access, right? You don't have to go download another app. It's just there. It's a tile. You can play with it. So this is where we come into the idea of content fluidity and like why we want to approach this, what we're trying to do with it. And when I was told this was a buffering-free and a video and AI conference, I decided not to talk about video and not to talk about AI at all. And instead, we're going to talk about content data models. Because this is really the key as to how this happens, right? We think about architecture a lot as the systems and how they interconnect, but data architecture is also incredibly important here. And when we think about trying to take these different components across different applications, it's important that we get that data architecture right. Spoilers, we didn't get it right. We're getting there, but this is how we are thinking about this evolving. So within our content model, and I will also say I'm minimizing a little bit of the complexity here, there's 4 foundational components. The first is the descriptive metadata. The second is the artwork. The third is the actual media that we all know and love. And the last is availability. Fun box. Terrible pictorial. We'll get to it. But let's go through each one of these and try to bring you up to speed with what we're doing here. All right? So when we think about descriptive metadata, this is a graph of information, right? And what we're really talking about is what we internally call a concept of entity. There's an overloaded name, I know, but you'll have to go with me on it. The entity is this logical representation of something, right? It's not a physical manifestation of it, it's an abstract, but we can say of a type, right? Like you've got series, you've got episodes, you've got movies. These are all types of this entity set. And we've got other things too. It's not just these high-level objects. Seasons are actually type too, because how you structure seasons, you might name them, you might reorder them. How they look internationally versus nationally might be different. There's a lot of interesting things there. But also all ancillary things like genres and people, sports events, taxonomy, all that stuff. That's all entities, right? And they're all interconnected to build a graph of information. So you've got descriptive fields, names, descriptions, genres there. Hey, look at genre is in the fields, but it's also an entity. That's the graph part, right? That's how you build these interconnections. And individual types can add different information, right? A season's going to have a number, an episode's going to have a number, a movie, well, every movie today has a number, but they usually don't, and that's just in the name. And they are interconnected, right? So an episode's going to be in a season, and the season's going to be in a series, but the episode's also going to be in a series too, right? So like, this is how you're building these connective tissue. And similarly, extras, you're on a movie, you're on a series. With this is also where we're storing localization. So if we have the title of a show, series, whatever you want, localization's done at a field level. So you can localize parts, pieces, all of it, whatnot. And what I'm talking about here is like a forged, full-formed object. But in reality, it's actually made up of individual sources underneath. Because like I said, we're not getting one delivery of a thing. We're not getting one ingest of a content spec or data set. We're getting a lot. And so we have these individual sources. We're able to rank them by the quality, by the reliability, by our preference of use. And then we're able to build this into an object. So we might get a description over here, awards data over there, and we're able to actually amalgamate all this together to build a full pictured object, right? It gives you a really robust knowledge graph to build off of. So that was a lot of words. So let's put even more on screen. Here's a basic TV episode, just to highlight it, right? And because we're talking about Disney Plus, we're going to talk about The Simpsons. I chose my favorite episode, Marge versus the Monorail. So we have an episode object. You've got your general information, right? Name, Marge versus Monorail, description, episode number 12, premiered in 1993. You'll notice there's multiple ratings, right? Like TVPG is the US rating. You can't use the US ratings everywhere. So every rating system kind of on Earth, we have the rating of that content if it's been rated, yada, yada, yada. And then other things like genres are in there. Cool, like that's one object. But then we got to expand out the graph. So that episode's in the season. It's in season 3. Sorry, 4. It was zero-based indexing in my head. That season premiered in 92, right? Like you can actually start building out this information. And again, that's all within The Simpsons, and I've got the details. I'm not showing description or translations here of the text. But just you think about kind of like the graph and the pieces, right? This is a real formulation of data. And this is a lot of the descriptive data, but there's one key piece of descriptive data. That's artwork, right? Like this is visually how you're like interacting with these entities within the application spaces. And when you think about a movie, you only think about one image, right? There's never a second image, it's just this one. And for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it's that one. Well, it's not true either. There's a lot of properties that change on images, right? You have different aspect ratios. You can have different types, like is this a hero image? Is it a background image? Is it a title treatment? And then, of course, sources, because we can get images from different quality sources, and you want to have fallbacks, you want to have other things. And so instead of one image, you have a plethora of images, right? You've got tons and tons. If you read anything about how we launched the Hulu on Disney Plus work, you'll note that we had to go from, I think it was a set of 3 core artwork pieces to 21 for everything based on the plethora of different things that Disney Plus service was using that artwork for. That was a big effort, but it's something we had to scale out to. But on top of that too, right, imagery is not global. There's localization to it, right? I think movies are a great example of this, and specifically Guardians of the Galaxy, because you're translating things, right? You have burned-in images. Even if you're layering these, right, there is a title treatment. That title treatment is a logo, and that has to be translated. And so localization is another key on this too. Anybody able to name all 6 languages there? No? Joey's got it. So English, French, Polish, Japanese, Spanish, and Chinese. Yeah, fun. Cool. But so that's the descriptive data, right? That's everything about the look and the feel, the tangible, the abstract bits. But then we want to get real physical. We want to actually watch something in an app. That's where the media comes in, right? Like that's the actual thing you want to watch. And again, we're not going to talk a lot about the media. We've talked a lot in the past about what we do for media, what we do for processing, what we do for outputs. And so there's not a whole lot here. The important key things is like we differentiate at the edit level, right? So if you want to think about an edit, think about a broadcast version versus a at-home version, or a theatrical versus a directorial. We're separating those at that level within our model. The media can be on-demand processed or live processed. Doesn't matter to us. They all need to interconnect and they need to be coherent within the graph. And it is processing pipeline aware. What does that mean? Well, it means that we're tracking where we created it and where we put it. Because as we onboard different applications in different places, there's a lot more than one processing pipeline, and at least until we can form them all. And we have to track where it is so that we can go play it, we can go do manipulations to it. But generally, as we've talked about in the past, we try to conceptualize everything into a CMAP store. So you've got your video sets, audio sets, text sets, and then within those, you've got your common classics, HDR, SDR, all the fun extra metadata, and then audio sets and roles and yada, 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 right? Fun things. And this brings us to the end of the media. It's not coming back. No, I'm just kidding. But those are great. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Jeremy. So that's great. But there's one last piece, right? Like we talked about the logical, we've talked about the physical, but I haven't told you how you have permission to watch, right? And that's what availability is about. Availability is about modeling the license that you're interacting that media with. And what we try to do is have one kind of reference of that license in one avail, right? So the concepts of licensing data, like who am I getting this license from? Is it internal? Is it external? What do I need to do for reporting and payout purposes? What rights are granted or used to be granting this media access to me? What restrictions are on top of that? Because nothing's ever easy. And then in the live case, it's actually the life cycle of the live content too, right? Because that's part of its availability. You can have a scheduled time. You can have a actual like available time, but that's live is live. It will be live when it's really live. It will be scheduled before that, and it will be complete after that. Now I'm just thinking about the microphone constantly. Sorry. Anyhow, but I want to dig kind of too deeper here. So granted rights. What do I mean by granted rights? This is things like, okay, this content is going to be available to you at this start time and this end time. It's going to be available via these content entitlements. And what is that? Well, it's a fancy way of saying how you're paying us. Or not, potentially, right, if it's free. It's about where is this being distributed. Rights and licenses are often very carved out into different areas and whatnot, and we have to track that. This actually is a good example of how we do kind of a two-way mapping to solve matching at scale in the edge systems. But instead of saying that, okay, we'll have country codes and zip codes and time zones and designated market areas, all those things that you have to match on in real time at edge systems, we flat map it into a strong index. And we call them distribution areas. It's fun. It's like a fun tessellation of the Earth. But it means that in real time, you can map the content to the user and do a quick join. Very nice. Other things, distribution context, the app that you're accessing in, and feature rights. Do you have the ability to download this offline? If this is live, can I start it over after the event started? Fun things like that. Required restrictions, again, nothing's ever free. You're going to have things like device restrictions. Can't play this on mobile because we didn't get that license. Language holdbacks. It's very possible, still within this environment, that, hey, we've got global license to all of it, except we don't have French in this locale. Happens a lot. It's just the way of legacy licensing and everything coming together. So we have to be able to model that. Quality holdbacks. If some licenses don't allow you to exhibit in UHD, we might still have it encoded and ready on the platform, and you might have a way to access it from a different license. But if you can't access it from one, we have to be able to express that. Yep, and then ad types. Do we have to force you to see ads? Can we never put ads in this content, right? Like all these restrictions. Like, why are we being so verbose about this, right? Is a question that you might ask. And it's about being very explicit so that we're tracking the rights and tracking the understanding and tracking the availability, because that's the uniqueness. That's what's changing across these experiences and changing across these subscriptions. So let's connect it all together. We've got a bunch of pieces. Let's build a puzzle. We're going to start with the entity. Hooray, it's there. Artwork is hanging directly off the entity. Entities can reference any number of pieces of artwork. Artwork's really going to be in one entity, right? Next layer, we're in the media. The media is referencing an entity. The entity doesn't understand that it's being referenced by media, right? Because there can be multiple versions or pieces of it. And so you don't really have the entity with that knowledge. The media is always pointing to an entity. Similarly, the avail is pointing to media. The media doesn't know how you're accessing it, but the avail knows what media you're accessing. Right? Simple enough? Everyone got it? Great. This was actually all just an elaborate interview question. You've all passed, and you're welcome to join. No? All right. Well, let's look at a couple examples. On-demand video. So let's go back to March vs. the Monorail. We have this episode. We want an on-demand asset. Cool. VOD. There's literally nothing in that media object, right? And it's referencing that entity for the episode. It doesn't have to reference the season or the series, right? That's done within the entity graph. And then for the availability, that doesn't show up well. All right, note for later. in the US, The Simpsons are available on Disney Plus. So the content entitlement is your Disney Plus subscription. The distribution area, which is just, again, that term I'm using, 3 through 4. That's what we do for US plus territories. It's fun, that's all. And then distribution context Disney. You're watching that in the Disney Plus app. Really? Nice, simple, on demand, cool. Let's look at live events, because I'm more in the live mood. And there might be this thing that you might have heard of happening called the Buff-Free Video and AI Conference. So suppose that was in the model, right? And suppose we wanted to watch that now. Well, it's got live media attached to it, and then it's got availability attached to it. And let's just say we licensed it to Hulu. I know we didn't. You need your Hulu entitlement to watch that. You are in the United States territories. You've got distribution on Hulu. We're going to give you start-over rights. Come to the conference late. I know it was late last night. Just scrub back. Don't worry. We got you. Available at 9, ends at 5. And the interesting there, right, when I talked about life cycle, the Avail has that life cycle. It's playing right now. This event is live now. That's such a meta statement. Anyhow. But you know what? I hear this guy at 11:15 is just going to talk about content fluidity, and I don't want to watch it. So let's go watch live linear and think about, I don't know, Como. Got to go watch my ABC. Let's go. What's on now? Oh, Como News at 11. Right, cool. So I've got my availability. I'm using my Hulu Live TV sub for this. Very awesome. Very fun. That's playing, but you know, what did I miss? The View was before that. Darn it. I missed my View time this morning. It's okay. It had its availability. It's now in the completed state. What's up next? Well, it's the Good Morning America 3. Again, data quality is different across the board. There we go. And that's coming up in the scheduled future. I want you to know something here, though, right? These episodes that are occurring after each other in a schedule are not linked together, right? That's not the important part of that knowledge graph. There's actually nothing within the graph that is the schedule. The schedule is just availability, right? That becomes a roll-up that you're building at the experience. So if you want to build an EPG, it's not something explicitly modeled, it's an actual roll-up of that data, and it lets you do much more dynamic things with how you want to represent that content. But it is also why the availabilities map to a channel to bring it back into that graph. So these are the kind of like foundational tools. I've showed you examples of like, let's light up content in specific apps in specific situations and environments. But so I promised to talk about content fluidity at some point. I guess we're at that point. So let's go back to on demand and the monorail again, because nothing like a bona fide monorail. And you remember, we're on Disney Plus. That's great. Well, you might have seen previously in the press, we launched a 24/7 live Simpsons channel. And part of that is that you can now watch The Simpsons live. Hooray! It's just playing all of them one after another. That's great. We're actually acquiring that as a live signal. You got to get things to market. And so in our channel is The Simpsons. We're actually bringing in a separate live piece of media, right? We're not referencing that VOD media. And you get a new Avail. And it's like, cool. Well, you put more boxes on screens with arrows. Why did this help you at all? The key thing that helped here, I didn't have to build anything in that entity set. I didn't have to onboard new artwork. I didn't have to onboard anything about new descriptions, any new translations. All of it was there, right? And the user experience was already at its peak from that descriptive viewing, and the programming team didn't have to care about it. They had to put the right AD, but they didn't have to care about getting all the other metadata correct, right? It's very, very powerful, and it brings a lot of efficiency to their operations. So, but what if we go a little bit further and go across applications? Now, unfortunately, I'm a stickler for accurate examples. So The Simpsons doesn't work here. We're gonna have to go to Family Guy. So choosing a random episode, all the stuff's there. Road to Rhode Island, classic. You might know this is on-demand media, and in the US, this content is on Hulu. Cool. Internationally, this content's on Disney Plus. Also cool. But then when we did Hulu on Disney Plus, how do we do it? Any guesses? Oh, no one's talking. This is great. We just put another Avail on it, right? You're still the Hulu subscription, but the main difference here is that you're on the Disney app, right? That's amazing. That's just one change, and you bring all that content into the application. Sweet. Wasn't that easy, to be honest. Theoretically, though, that's exactly how it works. But there's one last example I'd show you here, and that's live events, right? Because you can watch ESPN Plus on ESPN, on Hulu, and on Disney Plus. The experience is there. So we have a live event. It's on your ESPN app. It's on your Hulu app. There you go. It's on your Disney Plus app. That's awesome. But you know what? Last minute call. This game is not your ESPN subscription to the Hulu app. It's going to be the free for the Hulu-based subscribers because that was our deal this week. What do? Well, we just update one field. That one. It's very hard to see, but it's just a change, right? And we've built in a lot of these operational controls in order to retarget and do these updates without having to do full ingestions, full reprograms, full changes. It gives a lot more flexibility to those operations teams. This gets to the heart of it. When we think about this distribution, we're now able to really centralize and think about the problems independently. We can make sure that we have a catalog of content, a aggregate of information, and then build experiences out of that. This gives us really, really powerful core pieces. Because when we think about what we talked about in the past, right? So we're talking about content fluidity now, but in the past we've talked about server-guided ad insertion. It's all about making components, getting the Lego pieces, and then being able to build whatever experience that you want to build. And so we focused a lot in the media previously of hey, okay, let's segment it right. Let's be able to do different ads or slates. But now we can even go up another level and be how do we bring this content data together and start building pieces of the experience out of a common data set. All sunshine and roses, but this was not easy. Complex integrations, right? Making these changes means that you actually have to have applications integrated with it. And rebuilding the system is never, ever, ever on any product roadmap or business roadmap, right? But what the business wants, you need to find ways to enable. And part of architecture is trying to predispose the thought of where we're going, right? I see them trying to bring more content across. I bet they're going to ask for more. So how can we do better? So we started in different states, right? We had to integrate Hulu and Disney Plus together. That brought us one space. As part of the preparation for ESPN DTC, we've replatformed the data set there to bring it on board, right? And this is how we're getting to the enablement of it. We have to use drivers to get there. It's not easy. And I will say the plan is the plan until the plan changes. The plan changed a lot. But it's okay. We adapt. We overcome. That's what we have to do. And this is where we are right now, but it's just the beginning, really. Because the more that we think about these as fundamental components to this problem, we can go further than this. We talked very much explicitly about content that we know is duplicated, right? But of all those sources, I can guarantee you there's more duplication. I can guarantee you there's ways to bring TV and non-TV edits together. How can I go about taking this implicit duplication and using content fluidity to solve that as well? It's the next level problem that we will start cracking. And on top of that, I've talked about D2C a lot, but we are supposed to also do things outside D2C too. In the linear space and the other support areas, how can we leverage this system that we built and project it outside of just applications, project it back to linear channels, project it back to anywhere you want to get it, and really power the business in a very, very efficient, very, very high scale way. But with that, I'm at the end. Maybe a little early. Oh well. Yeah, thank you.